Watchers of the anime will know this black and white garbed assassin very, very well. It is SIN00 Shinsaber, with a kit of Counter Guard, Assassin, Gatling, Biped legs, and the leg ability of Weapon Master, which converts a portion of the leg's shoot or melee resist into base power and bonus damage when attacking with those respective parts. So right from start, just looking at his kit, Shinsaber is designed as kind of your all-round and balanced fighter to a point. Even though his leg ability doesn't necessarily capitalize on that, he does end up getting bonus damage as a compensation to that all the same. Counter Guard is a defense-based skill which will put him in a defensive stance on the center line, and he will also intercept any incoming melee damage and reflect it back to sender at 1/2 of the damage intended to be dealt. So a very good way to keep melee nukers of the enemy side off your tail long enough to at least give a punish or buy your allies some time to come back and punish them, in addition to the punish damage that Shinsaber will deal on top of that with the reflection. Right Arm of Assassin is a melee-based skill that is guaranteed to land and also guaranteed to be a critical hit on top of that, but it does also come with a caveat, and that caveat being that if you fail to destroy a part with your strike, you instead lose your arm, which means it's a very solid finishing skill or as a one-turn nuke skill, but it does very heavily bank on the fact that you do actually have to break parts in order to actually capitalize on that. Otherwise, Shinsaber himself is going to be in a lot of trouble. And then, of course, Gatling is a standard shooting attack that is a conventional shooting with no major drawback or advantage, but it is a scattered AoE, meaning it will damage one part normally and then 2 others at random at 1/3 of your additional damage. So again, right from start, Shinsaber is pretty well balanced as a pretty solid all-rounder and coverage support. Not necessarily a dedicated nuker by any means, but very likely a spot nuker or a spot punisher in some cases, and can very quickly change his game up relative to the kind of role he needs in battle. That does, however, kind of serve as not necessarily a pain point, but at least something to consider when using Shinsaber, as with the pure set, even though I did rate him a 7 out of 10 for his very solid balance across the board, the pain point with him, or at least the item to consider, is the fact that he is using 3 different skills as a pure set, between a defense, a melee, and a shooting. If you did want to use him at his highest potential, I would honestly consider and encourage using him for melee, and then using a minor in shooting, just as a support-based attack skill all the same, should something happen to his assassin arm, or should he fail to actually break something. But that extra skill point into melee will help further guarantee that he will pack the highest damage possible with it. As mixed parts, I do have to rate him just a little bit higher at a 7.5 out of 10, given that all 3 of his parts can be used just about anywhere very feasibly and very easily, even though, of course, his assassin arm will be his main go-to weapon of choice when using him for melee skills all the same. But of course, something with Weapon Master, if you do choose to make use of this, you can definitely bank on that extra bonus damage to capitalize on all the same, if you do choose to use them in any particular builds.